So now that we're at the wheel, you'll want to turn your wheel on right here on the side, flick the switch up. If you are right-handed, you'll want this toggle switch on the side to be pointed towards REV. Wheel head is going to spin in reverse or counterclockwise for right-handed people. If you're left-handed, you're going to switch it to FWD forward, and it'll go clockwise for left-handed people. I'm going to do this demonstration right-handed because I'm right-handed. If you are left-handed, you'll just reverse your hands. So when I say right hand, you'll think left hand. When I say left hand, you'll think right hand. The first thing that we want to do is position our ball of clay right into the center. So I'm going to take my clay and just slam it down as close as I can to the center of the wheel. It's okay if it's off a little bit. When we're centering, we'll get it on center. There's 3 parts to throwing on the wheel. The first part is centering, the second will be opening, and then third lifting. So we'll divide this video up into 3 sections for you. So the first stage is centering. So you're going to want to make sure that your hands are nice and wet. Dip them in your bowl of water and grab your wheel sponge and wet your clay. Centering's done on full speed. So once you get your hands into position, you'll turn your wheel onto full speed. So left hand, or if you're right hand or left-handed, your right hand, your elbows get locked into your hips. Your left hand right here on the palm of your hand will be positioned on the ball of clay just at the bottom. You want to think about your left arm coming down through the center of your clay. So creating that kind of line, your arm passing right through the center of the ball of the clay. And the elbow locked on your hip, so that when I move, my arm moves. So that when I'm wanting to push the clay into the center, all I have to do is push my body forward into the clay. My right hand goes on the top, and this is just to prevent the clay from moving up when I'm centering. So I'm going to get the wheel going full speed. Sometimes you get it centered, but it's not quite centered at the bottom. If that happens to you, you can use your sponge and lift that clay from the bottom up to the top, where it's a little easier to center. So now my hands are gliding smoothly over the ball of clay. There's not much jiggling, so I know that this clay is centered. The next step of the video will be opening. So I'm going to move my speed down to medium. And I want to create a little button at the top of the clay so that I'll open in the center. So I'm just going to use my thumb and press down to create a little button just on the top of my mound of clay. Once I've done that, I still keep my elbows close to my body. I cup the little ball of clay and then straight down on top of the button, push my thumb into the clay. You don't want to go all the way to the bottom. You want to leave it so that there's about 1 centimeter of clay, maybe a little bit more, from the wheel head to the clay. I'm going to measure the distance using the pin tool on my finger. So I push my finger down to the bottom of the hole and stick my pin tool into the clay and pull them out together, and that will tell me the depth. So I have a little bit more here. I could probably go down just a little bit further. So I'll get my wheel spinning again, medium. The next step to opening is put in 2 fingers and then 3 fingers and then pull straight towards you. And this is going to open up the clay. You don't want to pull past the log or where the clay is on the bottom, because you're going to just pull it right off and you're going to have nothing to show. So make sure that you only pull to where the edge of your clay hits the wheel. This part, the wheel should be barely moving, as slow as possible without having it stopped. It's a good idea to set your speed and then take your foot off of the pedal so that you don't adjust the speed as you're trying to lift. When you're lifting, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do it using, I call it the girly fist. That's what my pottery teacher told me. So this part of your finger is what's going to lift the clay up. You tuck your thumb, get it out of the way, and that is the girly fist. So I'll show you that method first, and then I'll show you with the sponge. So your left hand goes on the inside, and your right hand is going to apply the pressure at the base, and you're working at 3 o'clock. So I always try and work at 3 o'clock. I don't want to follow my hands around as it's spinning. I always want to stay working right here at 3 o'clock on my piece. So the first thing is going to be to not let your left hand do anything. My left hand is just there to add support. It should just be gliding around on the inside of the piece. My right hand is what does the work. I'm going to press with some firm, even pressure at the bottom of the piece, and then slowly, slowly, slowly start to bring my hands up together in unison. So I'm moving up so slowly that you can hardly even tell that I'm bringing my hands up, but you'll notice that the piece is starting to get taller. So I'm lifting that clay and bringing it up to the top. Once you've done one full lift, you have to make sure to compress your rim. So you'll just gently pinch with your left hand, let it glide through, and press down with your right. You'll lift using the sponge. So if you don't feel comfortable using your finger, you could use the sponge. Just hold it kind of between your hand like this so that your finger can apply the pressure, and then the sponge is what touches the clay. Your left hand is doing the exact same thing it was before, so it's just there to provide support. You're applying nice, firm, even pressure at the bottom, bringing up the walls of that clay. I've done one full lift, just cleaning out some of the water in here. I'm going to do a compression on the top, just to compress that rim, prevent cracking. One more note I'm just going to make. You never want to touch your piece when it's not spinning. So if you're going to touch your piece at all, the wheel needs to be spinning. So this is what it looks like if I didn't have the piece there. My left hand is here, my right hand is applying that pressure, and then they're moving up together. Sometimes I'll even put my thumb on my hand or pinch my piece so that I know that my hands are moving up at the same time. So to make a collared vase, you are going to probably going to want to bulge out the shape here and then bring in the rim at the top. So to bulge out, your left hand is going to apply pressure pushing out, and your right hand is just going to be there to support. So I'm going to put my left hand on the inside again, and slowly, slowly, slowly and gently apply pressure from the inside. If you have any water on the inside of your piece, now's the time to get it out before you start closing up your opening. So I'm just going to... The next thing to making a collared vase is to bring the collar together. So I'm going to put my hands like this and just kind of gently coax the clay together. When you're doing this, your walls are thickening. So anytime that you're compressing the clay particles together, the walls are going to get thicker. And anytime you're stretching them out, the walls are going to get thinner. So every time you compress your clay and choke it in, bring your collar or your opening, make it smaller, it has a tendency to go off center slightly. So you may end up with this uneven rim. To trim off the top of your rim, there's a couple ways you can do it. You could use your wire cutter wrapped around your fingers, kind of like dental floss, and at 3 o'clock if you're right-handed or 9 o'clock if you're left-handed, you'll just bring that wire cutter down into your piece, let it go around all the way once, and then pull it off. The other way you could do it is using your pin tool. You could pinch the rim gently. You're going to use your thumb as guide and then press the pin tool into the clay until it hits your other finger. Let it go around once and then pull off. So I'll show you what that looks like. Some people like these throwing lines on the outside of your piece. If you're not a huge fan of them, you can use your sponge and get rid of them, or I'll show you how to use your metal rib to get rid of them. So you can use this metal rib to smooth out the outside of your piece, Just kind of bend it to the shape. The last step before this is a finished piece is to get rid of any excess clay that's down here at the bottom. This makes trimming easier and makes it look nicer. So I'm going to use the wooden stick tool. This part right here is going to be my cutting edge. I want to kind of mirror this curved edge on the outside of my piece. So I'm going to kind of make sure that this is parallel to how I want it to cut. I hold on really tight here with my left hand, and I'm kind of holding it like a pencil down here at the bottom. And this will help me direct where I want to cut. So I start off outside of the piece and then just slowly start to bring it closer until I've trimmed off the amount that I want. So I still have some clay stuck on the wheel. I'm just going to rotate my wooden stick so that the flat part now is facing down and trim that off. There's all that excess clay that we would have had to trim off afterwards. I'm going to just smooth out my outside again now that I've trimmed that clay. And there we go.